The wind tore across the jagged cliffs of Virelia like a million tiny knives, and Lieutenant Callan Rhodes had the distinct impression that gravity was personally offended with him. He stumbled over a metal grate, arms flailing, and narrowly avoided face-planting into a puddle that shimmered with bioluminescent goo. "Fantastic," he muttered, catching his balance just in time to avoid becoming an interstellar meme. "Just what I needed, alien slime on my boots and possibly my dignity." Callan had been stranded after the skirmish with the Empire's patrol drones, which had a surprising fondness for shooting first and asking questions never. Now, as he darted through the city's neon-lit streets, he realized he had two choices: surrender or survive. He chose survival, mainly because surrender sounded boring and uncomfortable. He sprinted past holographic billboards advertising things he didn't need, like synthetic air conditioners for planets with breathable atmospheres and anti-gravity shoes that were clearly designed for people who liked falling in style. Then between the jagged towers of chrome and glass, he saw her. Queen Lysara was slumped against a palace wall, her long, elegant ears twitching even as she tried to maintain dignity. She looked human in every other way, though there was a shimmer to her skin that reminded him vaguely of liquid silver in sunlight, and a presence that made him simultaneously nervous and fascinated. She glanced at him with an expression that mixed irritation, amusement, and the faintest hint of desperation. "You look like you wrestled a starship engine and lost," she said, voice strained but carrying the kind of sarcasm that made Callan laugh despite the situation. "I think that was yesterday," he replied, panting and brushing a hand through his hair. "Today I'm just auditioning for Best Dodging Alien Patrol's award." She tried to smile, a faint curl of her lips, but pain cut through it sharply. "Audition accepted," she muttered. Then her gaze hardened. "You're here because fate or sheer incompetence brought you to me, and luck or divine irony I am still breathing barely. My guards, those so-called loyal fools, have betrayed me. I need you to deliver justice before they finish the job themselves." Callan blinked. "Justice, got it, but can we start with walking and not dying?" Her ears twitched in amusement. Human humor, how quaint. "And yes, walking is preferable to the alternative." He scooped her up carefully, trying not to hurt her more than she already was. She squirmed just enough to make it uncomfortable, but not enough to resist. "Hey, I'm supposed to be the hero, not the furniture," he said, adjusting his grip. "You're doing splendidly," she replied, dry as a desert, "though you smell like a crashed shuttle. Try not to offend my senses too early in the adventure." Callan stumbled down a hidden stairwell that twisted like a DNA helix into the bowels of the palace. Sparks flew from damaged panels, illuminating her face in brief flashes. "You know," he said, "I never thought saving an alien queen would involve so much running, climbing, and swearing at technology." She gave a faint chuckle that cut through the metallic clamor. "And you, dear human, are learning the true art of survival. Improvisation, sarcasm, and accidental grace." They reached a maintenance tunnel, narrow and humming with the energy of ancient alien circuits. Callan paused, ears ringing from the electrical resonance. "Okay, here's the plan," he said, thinking aloud. "We go down the tunnel, avoid patrols, somehow find evidence that your advisors are all backstabbers with more ambition than sense. And oh yes, survive long enough for you to tell me which end is the heroic one." She gave a sardonic smile, her silver eyes glinting in the low light. "You're absurd, human, I like it. Just try not to trip over anything that might make my final moments messier." They navigated the twists and turns, Callan occasionally bumping into walls or tripping over exposed wires, each near fall punctuated by her dry commentary. "Smooth, human. Truly, a performance worthy of intergalactic theater." "Thanks, I think," Callan said, steadying himself. "I've been practicing in zero-G showers, very advanced training." A warning drone rounded a corner, its sensors glowing red. Callan froze. Queen Lysara's hand brushed against his arm. "Do try not to die before I finish my monologue about betrayal and cosmic irony," she whispered. Using a combination of luck, human stubbornness, and a hastily rigged holographic cloak that made him look like a floating pile of glittering dust, Callan avoided detection. The drone buzzed past, confused, and they both exhaled. "Next time, can we fight them with confetti cannons instead?" he muttered. "Only if you accept that you'll have to explain confetti to a species that finds humor in existential dread," she replied, her voice surprisingly warm. Hours, or what felt like hours in the labyrinthine palace, passed. They finally reached a hidden chamber, walls lined with shelves of alien relics and scrolls of incomprehensible schematics. Lysara leaned heavily against a console. "Here," she said, "is where it begins. The truth, the betrayal, the scheming council. Find it, expose them, avenge me." Her voice faltered slightly and she closed her eyes, exhausted. Callan crouched beside her, suddenly feeling the weight of her request pressing down like the gravity of an entire planet. "Avenge you," he echoed. "Got it. No pressure, just the fate of an empire in my hands. And you," he added with a grin, "and probably a few space laws I don't understand." Her lips twitched in a faint, almost imperceptible smile. "Human humor, still quaint," she whispered, before closing her eyes fully, drifting close to the edge of life. Callan sat there, holding her carefully, realizing that despite the absurdity, the running, the drones, the glittering holograms, and the constant danger, something fundamental had changed. He wasn't just a soldier stranded on a foreign planet anymore. He was the keeper of a dying queen's secret, her hope, and perhaps her last chance for justice. And somewhere deep in the tunnels, a warning siren wailed, a reminder that the Empire wasn't done with them yet, and that adventure, chaos, and the occasional sarcastic remark were far from over. Callan had never been a morning person, which was inconvenient because the morning in Vyrlia seemed to last about 3 standard Earth days, give or take a few gravity anomalies. He woke in a cramped medchamber where Queen Lysara hovered in a stasis cocoon of humming energy fields, her long ears twitching as if adjusting to the low-level static that filled the room. She opened one silver eye and gave him a sideways glance. "You look remarkably like a man who hasn't slept, eaten, or considered his life choices," she said, voice still laced with humor which was comforting. "And yet somehow, you are exactly where I need you to be." "I was going for heroic, but sleep deprivation is the closest I can manage right now," Callan admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "Also, why do your ears do that?" He gestured at her long, elegant ears, now quivering in rhythm with the chamber's hum. "They calibrate," she said crisply. "Hearing, balance, mood reading, and occasionally sarcasm detection. Very sophisticated." Callan chuckled, even as he activated the neural link she had implanted. Suddenly, her voice was inside his head, clear and teasing. "Did I say I'd like subtlety in this conversation? I meant, don't be subtle at all. Tell me everything." They began planning. Lysara's advisors had woven a tangled web of treachery reaching the upper echelons of the empire, a bureaucracy so convoluted that even she, as queen, had sometimes felt like she was reading a book in a language made entirely of numbers. She guided him through a digital map of the palace archives, highlighting security blind spots and weak points in the defense grid with sarcastic commentary. "Notice that hallway over there," she said, "filled with guards who believe their eyebrows alone are sufficient defense. Proceed with caution or just knock. They love intergalactic knock-knock jokes." Callan laughed, imagining the scene. 2 armed guards frozen in confusion while someone yells, "Knock, knock." The absurdity made him feel a flicker of levity amid the tension. "I'll keep that in mind," he said, sliding into a stealth corridor. The first stop was a market in the lower levels, where alien merchants sold everything from gravity-resistant fruit to kinetic energy-infused trinkets that humored the universe more than they served practical purpose. Callan needed information, and here, rumor was cheaper than truth and often far more entertaining. He approached a merchant with a nose like a corkscrew and 3 arms juggling data chips. "Looking for whispers," Callan said cautiously. The merchant snorted, sending one chip spinning across the stall. Whispers, "You'll need a discount on the lies, or do you prefer them on ice?" Callan rolled his eyes. "I think I'll take them, slightly warm, please." As he collected the stories, each rumor twisted more confusingly than the last. Lysara's voice pinged through the neural link. "Ah, humans and gossip. Truly, one species excels above all others." By the time he left the market, he had a fragile outline of the betrayal. A council of advisors scheming to eliminate the Queen, secure the Empire, and possibly monopolize the galaxy's supply of synthetic chocolate. Callan almost laughed at the last part, until he remembered he had a craving, which somehow made the Empire feel more human. The next step involved infiltrating the palace archives. Callan donned a holographic disguise, an outfit that supposedly made him look like a high-ranking alien official. Unfortunately, the hologram glitched, and he briefly resembled a humanoid chicken with a bad sunburn. Lysara's voice chimed in, impossibly amused. "Magnificent. You might just distract them with sheer absurdity." He advanced carefully, using both human ingenuity and alien tech. He tripped over a small bot designed for floor polishing, sending it spinning into a pile of hover crates. The bot beeped indignantly, and Callan muttered an apology. Lysara's laughter filled his mind. "You know," she said, "if you survive, I may nominate you as my personal entertainment officer." Hours, or what might have been hours, though in the palace time often felt like molasses, passed as he navigated the labyrinth of data crystals and archives. He learned the council had hidden the most damning evidence in a secure vault beneath the throne chamber. Access required not just brute force but delicate improvisation, hacking skills, and a flair for timing that could only be described as dangerously reckless. Callan paused before the vault, imagining the absurdity of explaining to anyone why he was crouched in alien shadows talking to a holographic queen. "You know," he said, whispering into the link, "this is probably the weirdest spy mission I've ever done. And I've done a lot of weird things." "True," Lysara agreed, her tone dry but affectionate. "You look heroic, yes, but slightly ridiculous. A perfect combination for interstellar espionage." He cracked the vault's code. Or rather, the code cracked itself as he stumbled over the correct sequence in a mix of guesswork and luck. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing rows of holographic data crystals glowing softly in the dim light. Callan carefully extracted the files, marveling at their alien intricacy and noting that a holographic defense system almost zapped him for touching the wrong crystal. "Careful. This is delicate, not a lightsaber duel," Lysara warned. With the evidence in hand, Callan retraced his steps, avoiding patrols and security drones in a sequence of near misses that tested both his agility and his patience. A misstep sent him sliding into a crate of interstellar fruit, which exploded in a burst of neon juice, staining his uniform. "Perfect," he muttered. "Just what I wanted, fruity death armor." "Fashionable and functional," Lysara quipped. "I expect pictures for my posthumous amusement." Finally, they reached a secure observation deck, where Callan could review the data safely. The truth of the betrayal was worse than either of them had anticipated. The council had meticulously orchestrated every step to isolate Lysara, eliminate loyalists, and seize the throne, leaving chaos in their wake. Callan's jaw tightened, though he tried to maintain his humor. "Well, they certainly can't be accused of boring ambition," he said, scanning the files. "Boring," Lysara scoffed. "They invented a new level of tedious treachery. I'd call it elegant in a horribly frustrating way." Callan nodded, feeling both the weight of responsibility and the strange thrill of adventure. They had the proof, the path forward, and a tenuous connection that balanced peril with laughter. "Okay," he said finally, "we've got the chaos. Now we make them regret it, right?" "Indeed," Lysara replied. "And remember, if we fail, at least we'll have good stories, terrible fashion, and enough sarcasm to last several lifetimes." Callan smiled, feeling a spark of courage he didn't know he had. Together, human and alien queen, they were ready to turn the tables on an empire built on betrayal, deceit, and fortunately, a generous tolerance for humor. And somewhere deep within the neon-lit tunnels of Virlia, the first moves of their counterstrike were already in motion. Callan stood on the observation deck of the orbital citadel, the galaxy sprawling below like spilled jewels across black velvet. The Council of Betrayers had gathered in the Grand Chamber, unaware that their plans were about to unravel in ways they could neither predict nor comprehend. His armor was scuffed from running, his uniform streaked with neon fruit juice and the faint shimmer of alien dust, yet somehow he felt more present, more alive than he had in months of discipline, training, and drills. Through the neural link, Lysara's voice filled his mind, teasing and warm. "You look ridiculous," she said, "like a heroic pancake tossed into a glitter storm. Perfect." "Thanks," Callan muttered, gripping the proof of their conspiracy in the palm of his hand. "I've been practicing my heroic pancake impression for years." Her ears twitched, a subtle smile forming on her projected face. "That's it. Let them underestimate you. They'll never see what comes next." Callan initiated the sequence. Holographic projections of council members, private communications, their scheming and incriminating directives flooded the chamber. Guards froze in confusion, their eyes widening as they saw their secrets displayed for all to witness. A holographic cat, which Callan had sneaked into the projections as a joke, flicked its tail and stared at the most pompous advisor, causing him to sputter incoherently. "Really, a cat?" The advisor yelled, flailing. "Cats," Lysara murmured in his mind, "always remind us of the absurdity of power." Callan activated a series of booby-trap security protocols he had reprogrammed during his infiltration. Doors slammed, alarms rang, and a few overly serious drones started dancing in awkward zero-gravity spins, unable to process conflicting instructions. "I told you confetti cannons would be better," Callan muttered under his breath, as a holographic shower of multicolored particles rained over the chamber. The council scrambled, but Callan anticipated their moves. He used a mix of alien tech and human improvisation, opening escape hatches beneath their feet, redirecting security drones, and, when necessary, hurling them into containment fields like reluctant interstellar bowling pins. Lysara's laughter echoed in his mind, bright and clear. "You're growing on me, human, heroic but delightfully clumsy. It's charming." By the time the chaos settled, the council was incapacitated, their schemes exposed and their authority nullified. Callan stood amidst the commotion, breathing hard, muscles aching, yet satisfied. He had done it. Justice had been delivered, not with guns or explosions, though there had been a few of those, but with wit, courage, and improvisation. Lysara's projection solidified beside him, her long ears framing a serene face. "The Empire is yours to stabilize now," she said softly. "I cannot remain, not in this life, but my trust, my faith, is yours." Callan swallowed hard. I don't know if I can do that. I'm just a human soldier." "You've grown beyond that," she said, voice steady yet tender. "You've learned to think like a leader, move like a strategist, and, most importantly, maintain your humor when all around you forget how to laugh. That is power, Callan Rhodes." He glanced at her, the humor still present despite her near-fatal wounds. "You mean I'm not just the heroic pancake?" "Heroic pancake, strategist and occasional chaos agent," she corrected, with a faint grin. "Do not undervalue yourself." Callan felt something shift inside him. The man who had stumbled through alien streets, tripped over drones, and bickered with a queen in a neural link was gone. In his place was someone tempered by danger, wit, and loyalty, a human who had faced betrayal, alien politics, and the fragility of life itself, and emerged both stronger and wiser. With her final instructions, he began the careful process of stabilizing the empire. He reconnected loyal governors, reprogrammed automated defenses, and negotiated with factions that had once seen Lysara's death as an opportunity. He did all this with a mixture of determination and humor, cracking jokes to diffuse tense council meetings, and occasionally rolling his eyes at archaic protocols. For the first time, he realized leadership could be both serious and absurd, and that balance was essential. When the last rebellion of disloyal factions was quelled, he returned to the chamber where Lysara's cocoon rested. Her energy fields were dim, the silver shimmer of her skin fading. He knelt beside her, holding her hand. Did we do it? Yes, she whispered, voice faint but content. Empire safe because of you. She gave him a small, mischievous grin. And remember, you owe me at least one bad joke for my memorial ceremony. Callan chuckled, tears prickling his eyes. You've got it, I'll save the worst for last. Her eyes closed, and for a moment the world felt impossibly quiet, yet not empty. Her presence lingered in the neural link in the halls of the Empire and in Callan himself. He stood, lifting her ceremonial medallion, a symbol of her trust and hope. He would carry it forward, as her surrogate, her friend, and her human champion. The orbital citadel glowed in the soft light of the stars, and Callan looked out at the galaxy that stretched before him. There were still threats, still challenges, but he no longer felt small or unprepared. He had learned to navigate not only alien landscapes and conspiracies, but also the limits of his own courage and humor. A message pinged from the neural link. Lysara's voice, faint but unmistakable, teased, "Try not to trip over any more gravity fields, heroic pancake. I insist on a dignified victory." Callan laughed, the sound echoing through the citadel. Dignity is overrated anyway. And with that, he turned toward the heart of the Empire, ready to lead, to honor her memory, and to face whatever absurdity the galaxy dared to throw at him next, carrying both justice and laughter as his weapons. The journey had changed him. Where once he was a soldier lost on a foreign world, now he was a leader, a strategist, and a keeper of legacies, tempered with humor and humanity. Lysara had entrusted him with more than vengeance. She had entrusted him with hope, and that, he knew, was the most powerful weapon of all.